Hi, this is Lindsay Coyle, and this is the first episode of Art of Enough, which is the title of the book that I'm writing. I say this because it's like still up here, not on paper. However, I find that I'm able to speak better than get it out onto paper. So I thought, let's just do this and see what happens. So I am really not prepared. I would have had a nice background and had pictures hung and all that stuff in my office, but literally my office looks like this. Yeah, it will get done, but not today. But that's no reason to not take action, because with the Art of Enough, we have to take action and be ready to be not perfect, but moving forward. So that's the gist of this. So I own a business, Energy Exchange, and it's a local business directory and events calendar. And the purpose, the intention of that was to connect my community. I ran for municipal like council, and I didn't make it. And in that process of running, though, I really was like, ooh, this feels good. I like this. I feel alive and like in aligned in my purpose. And then I didn't get in. And I was like, screw you, universe. What the hell? Like, mixed messages much? So I took 2 weeks to, get my feet back under me and dust myself off. And I started Energy Exchange because that was something that I saw as a need in our community, because we had really low voter turnout, which frankly pissed me off. So that was my way of, addressing that. So that was in like 2017. We are now 2020. What a year, hey? Haha. So when all this started occurring, I actually got sick in March. Like within a week of them calling that we're in a global pandemic, I was sick, which I would have actually contracted before we even went into isolation. And I went into isolation the 11th of March, which was before they even called the pandemic. I just happened to put myself into a isolation writer's retreat to write this book. So, and I didn't get any done. But here we are. So anyways, I ended up getting sick the following week. And I was sick for March, April. It had to have been 6 weeks. And then I got better. And then I got sick again. It was different. It was more, the first time I had the shortness in breath and couldn't breathe. And it was capacity. Like I could not breathe in for 10 seconds, hold it for 10 seconds and breathe out. That was not possible. During the worst of it, I was like a 4-second breathe in. And that was hard during the worst of it. I contemplated calling 911 in the middle of the night, probably 3 nights during that 6 weeks, and my appetite was like, and I hardly ate at all. It was like an applesauce and piece of toast kind of day. So when I started to get my appetite back, I was like, okay, I'm feeling better. And then I got sick again, like I mentioned, but it was different. Was it still shortness in breath? Yes. But I could take in a full 10-second breath, hold it for 10 seconds, and breathe out for 10 seconds. And I was starved for oxygen. And at night, on my back, it was worse. And at night, I would switch to my stomach because that helped when I was sick the first time. And it didn't help this time. I was like, what is this? So for about a month of struggling to breathe and not understanding, I did get a test for COVID, and they said that I was negative. I didn't get a test when I was first sick because I hadn't traveled and I couldn't confirm that I'd been in contact with somebody. So I just went through my 6 weeks at home and got better and then got sick again. So here I am during the pandemic, sick, and tested negative for COVID. So they knew something was wrong with me because my resting heart rate was like sitting in the doctor's office. I was at 140 sitting there. So I was like, something's not right. And they agreed. So we started exploring that. So during the pandemic, I went to a cardiologist, a respiratory therapist. They did great in taking care of me. But everybody would come back to me saying, you're a specimen of health. And I'm like, awesome. I've never felt worse. So I ended up in urgent care in my city of Airdrie. It was Mother's Day that night. After dinner, I was at my mom's. We had dinner, and I just wasn't feeling right. And she had a high blood pressure monitor, and I was like, oh, I should take that because I'm not feeling good. Maybe whatever. And my heart rate was like 140. And I was like, literally, I just walked from the dinner table over to it. So I was like, I'm going to go to the hospital. So I went to urgent care. They, took my vitals, my oxygen, like when they put that thing there, I was like 98% oxygen. And I was like, no, I do not feel like I am getting 98% at all. And so they thought maybe I was having a heart attack, which I was even thinking maybe that's what it is because I don't get this. And they did blood work and so forth. And one of the tests came back positive that there could be a clot present. But I was, again, a specimen of health and stable. And they were like, yeah, like at this point, we're going to discharge you. And I was like, no, you're not. And they're like, your oxygen's at 98. And I was like, great. I'm 43 years old. I've been breathing for 43 years and this isn't normal. There's something wrong. So after a discussion, I was an outpatient that ended up going to the hospital in Calgary at 1:00 in the morning. I had to call my best friend to drop me off and drive me home because they wouldn't call an ambulance because I was stable. And I was like, fine, I don't care. But they gave me a requisition form and made arrangements. So I walked in at like 1 a.m. With a requisition form, had a CT scan, and within an hour and a half in triage there at the hospital, they found that I had pulmonary embolisms and had me on blood thinners that night, which is all there is. They just put me on blood thinners, and unless something changes, you're good. So I've been on blood thinners since Mother's Day, and I am definitely feeling better. And we are July 31st today. But I'm not back to normal. Like, I am still dealing with like being absolutely bagged because my oxygen is just not where it normally is. And if I went to a hospital or a doctor and they put the little thingy on my finger, it would be 98%. And it would be like, it's not for me. I am not getting the oxygen. So it's better in the day, but at night, it still doesn't feel great. Much better, but not normal and not great. So I've been kind of put on my ass in my own business. I put it down back in March when I was sick, just out of pure necessity. I have 2 kids and a husband, and thankfully my husband was able to stay home and take care of us after I had to, say uncle. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to make others sick, and I can't be cooking for you guys, and I can't be doing this stuff because I was going insane just trying to wash the groceries as they came in when this all started. It was pretty intense, right? So anyways, I ended up realizing after the whole homeschooling thing and all this isolation for 3-4 months that I'm like, as tired as I am because of pulmonary embolisms and not feeling well, there was something else going on. And my husband says, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And I was like, "No, thanks. I'm gonna go upstairs." And he goes, "Look, what's wrong with you? You are not coming out with us. You're in your room all the time and you're in bed. Like, what?" And I'm sitting there going, wow, that kind of sounds like what somebody who was depressed would do. And I said it out loud, and my husband's like, "Well, do you think you're depressed?" And I was like, "I don't know. Never been depressed before." But, where's the line between fatigue and just not coping well? Don't know. So I actually shared that. I'm an open book. So if you ever follow my Instagram or LinkedIn even, I'm an open book. And so I shared it. And then I got a phone call from somebody that I worked with. I'm an advocate and a champion for the project that she's doing called Harmonized Health. And that's through Thumbs Up, which is revolutionizing the way that we address mental health. And all of a sudden, as much as I was championing it, she was like, "Do you want to participate in it?" I was like, "Oh." And right there, what was there was, I'm treading water. I don't want to take away from somebody who's possibly drowning, because in the environment of this pandemic, people are suffering. And I get that. And what was also there for me is I was like, that's your "I'm not worthy" talking. Like, what's this imaginary threshold that you have to pass through in suffering to all of a sudden become worthy of getting help? And when it comes to mental health, we actually need to start catching ourselves when we're treading water, because when we start drowning, it's harder. And I've been with people that are drowning, and it is a suffering that I would wish upon nobody. And so I said, yeah, sign me up. So I started the process, and I've been with a doctor, a clinical nurse, an addictions counselor, and a counselor. And the focus on this is to look at if you have addiction, and you'd be treated for your mental health in a different way based on that. And through the assessment, they said that I don't have an addiction. I mean, I went in there going, "I'm addicted to my phone." And they're like, "No, you're not. You want to be on your phone." They're like, when people are like, "Get off your phone," are you like, I'm like, and they're like, "Okay, so you want to be on your phone. Why are you on your phone? What are you doing on your phone?" And I was like, I'm actually on my social media. And why am I there? I feel heard. And so what am I avoiding here with my family? I don't feel heard. So that conversation was had, and the ability to put my phone down and be with my family, and for them to understand that they need to hear me, because it undermines my self-worth in being ignored or dismissed. So we've come a long way in having the help that I've gotten for my mental health. It wasn't just my mental health. It was like everything that was going on back here that I was like, yeah, it sucks, but it's there and I'm living, whatever. And now I'm like, oh, let's deal with this. And it's getting dealt with. And my life today is nothing like it was 2 months ago. Funny how that happens when you just start to deal with your shit. So here I am. It's July 31st. We just had a month vacation. Literally, July 1st on Canada Day, we drove out to northwestern Ontario, 200 clicks past the Manitoba border, to Lake of the Woods, Ontario, to visit with our family on an islet. It was glorious. We brought a heat wave, and my kids were running and jumping off the dock into the lake from sunup to sundown. And my dog, who's a 10-month-old puppy at the time, learned to swim. and we couldn't keep them out of the water. And I was processing because I'd started the counseling before we went on vacation. And so I was processing things and writing and doing posts on Instagram. And literally, I was like peeling back the onion, and I was like, holy shit, I just realized this, and wrote it down. And this would be doing the work, where I really was thinking and allowing myself to go places that I didn't want to go, and being with it, and then kind of sitting back and going, so what'd you learn? And figured out some stuff. So stayed there for 2 weeks. It was amazing. Got to see our family. Loved it. Left, drove across from Ontario back to Alberta. We were home for like 3 or 4 days, and I went into 3 more appointments with mental health, and my son got into a specialist. We had all these appointments, and I started a course, because why wouldn't I? With Landmark Worldwide, and it's called the Introduction to Leadership program. And it is almost like an integrity boot camp. And I'm in the midst of it right now. It's very confronting, because I think when you're a high performer and you just are like, I got my shit together, so, not perfectly, but I'm good. And then when you start looking at integrity in that sense of wholeness, and just knowing that your word is your word, and you realize that you don't have as much integrity as you thought you did, you're like, that sucks. And then you get over it. So we finished all those appointments, started that course. 6 a.m. the next day after this course, we drove across from Alberta to the Sunshine Coast, taking the ferry and the whole 9 yards, and went and saw my family out there. And then the next day, packed up and went to an island and stayed at a cabin there for the week. So we were on the ocean. It was a heat wave again, and the kids were on the beach swimming. The dog, we hiked. We just had a phenomenal time. And we just got back on Monday. I just had another counseling appointment on Wednesday. And today's Friday. And I'm like, that book, I was supposed to be writing that this whole time. And nothing's written. And yet it's all here. And I find that when I talk to people, the what's under the surface is just bubbling, and I want to get it out. So I decided that I'm going to videotape myself and talk. And then I will use these videos to write what I can. I'm not a writer. I've never written anything, so I'm learning and I'm figuring it out for myself. So that's what I'm going to do. So as you watch these videos, you will kind of be able to see the building of my new book called The Art of Enough. And you'll understand more about what it's about, because it grew as far as what it is about from a year ago when I had the idea, and the thinking and the processing and the growth that's gone on over the last year, and what that book is today. I have goosebumps because I know I'm doing what I need to do. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And that feeling, I wish for everyone. And it's a part of my purpose to get other people to stop and think about it too for themselves. So, this is my first video. There will be more. I might do more than one a day, depending on if I'm on a roll. It looks like my phone is like maxing out. So I will cap this one off at 2 minutes. And then I'm going to have to delete a lot of my vacation pictures and videos. And then we'll get back at this. But my name is Lindsay. And this is going to be the journey of Art of Enough. Take care.